that we get this going.
You want me to admit everyone in?
Let me just get my screen shared and then we can go share screen. Okay. Go for it, Irene.
Yeah, it looks good.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. I see that people are still coming into the waiting room. So I think I'll give it one more minute and then we'll get started here. I appreciate you all coming in early to make sure that you got into the event. We'll get started at 6:01. All right, it is 6:01. We will get started. So thank you again for those of you that are here. I see quite a few familiar names on the participant list, and I do see some that I have not seen before. Before we get started with the actual panel discussion this evening, for our leveraging LinkedIn and learning how we're going to improve your profiles and make your connection requests much stronger, as well as learning how HR and recruiter use LinkedIn to help them find good candidates for the roles they're helping to fill. I'd like to start first with, once I get this going here, sorry, a land acknowledgement. So I'd like to acknowledge the land on which we live, play, and study for most of us. We are on the traditional territory of the Coastal Salish people, including the territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, the Tsleil-Waututh, the Coquitlam, Katzie, and Kwantlen nations. We would also like to acknowledge all other First Nation territories across Canada. Because I do see some new faces or new names on that list, I do want to just take a moment to introduce Career Pass for those of you who are not familiar with it. Career Pass is a program for skilled immigrants. Our aim is to help those of you who are hoping to get back into the profession that you did in your home country and wanting to do that here in Canada. We want to help you get there. Some of the services that we offer are one-on-one career support and coaching. If you need to do any kind of recredentialing or maybe skill upgrading, we do provide funding for that. The amount of funding does depend on what your profession is, what stream, as we call it, that you fall into. And we also provide opportunities to connect with local networks, employers, mentors, and then also wonderful events like this that we're having this evening. We do a lot of online events, but we also do hold in-person events. We do have some coming up in November, so this is something to keep an eye on. If you do follow us on LinkedIn, you will be able to get all of this information here. So some of the requirements to be eligible for Career Pass, first of all, of course, you want to return to what it was that you were doing at home. You do have to be a permanent resident. Unfortunately, if you're on a work or a study visa, you won't be able to qualify for our program. We are also accepting clients who are in or have refugee status, but have received a notice of decision and are able to provide us with the UCI number. Once we have that, and we have checked that you have a certain level of English, so as we say here, intermediate to advanced level of English, so you do need a CLB of 5. You do need to have 1 year of pre-arrival experience in your field of work. Stream 3, which would be unregulated professions, do need to have 2 years of experience. You need to be unemployed or underemployed. We can accept clients who are on EI, and we can accept clients who are on income assistance or welfare. If you have any further questions about this, or if you want to learn more information about our programs, please visit us, as you can see here, at issbc.org at Career Paths. You could also reach out to us directly at this email, and I'll leave this up here for a moment so that if you need to, you can copy the information down. If you'd like to call instead and have a conversation with one of our service assistants, you're more than welcome. Please note the different numbers for the different areas of the Lower Mainland. And if you are in one of those other areas that's not listed here, make sure you use that bottom number. We do service all of British Columbia. And I have also put a QR code here as well. So this might be a quicker way for you to get to the form, where if you meet those requirements, you can fill out this form. And again, one of our service assistants will reach out to you. And I'll just leave that up for another minute. All right. So without further ado, let us get started on this evening. I am very happy to have our three speakers here with me. They very kindly put up their hand to come here and share their professional experience with all of us this evening. And I am looking forward to the information they're going to share. For all of you that are on this call, it is being recorded. I think you would have seen that in the email that I sent as well. If you're not comfortable with having your face online, please make sure you turn your camera off, because this video will be shared. So without further ado, I'd just like to take a second and have our three guest speakers just take a moment to introduce themselves, let us know their names and where it is that they're currently working, and then we'll jump right into the panel discussion. Serap, would you like to start?
Yes, for sure. My name is Serap, and I'm working as talent management coordinator at IT Group. I got my recruiting seat at one of the largest construction chemical companies in the world. And then I worked in the pharmaceutical industry for a long time. And now I'm here in the market industry, very motivated by the mission to help people find fulfillment and belonging in their careers.
Thank you so much. And Shanika, how about you go?
Hi, everyone. I'm Shanika Blake. I am the HR and Administrative Manager at Blind Beginnings. Blind Beginnings is a nonprofit, and what we do, we support kids and youth who are blind and partially sighted, as well as their families. So we support them through programs and resources.
Fantastic. And Bahram?
Sure, thank you. I am Bahram Kebiri. I'm a leadership development specialist with ICBC, Insurance Corporation of British Columbia. I have a decade of HR experience in various centers of expertise in HR development, and happy to be here.
Fantastic. And for those of you that are on the call, there will be opportunity for you to ask questions towards the end. We're going to start getting into the panel discussion now and hear what they have to share with us. So I will start with the very first question. Why is it useful having a LinkedIn page in this day, in this age, in this job market? Go for it, Sarah. You take it away.
Okay. First of all, it helps build your professional network. It enables you to connect with peers, industry professionals, and potential employers. And secondly, LinkedIn serves as a platform for job posting and recruitment activities, and it increases your visibility to potential employers, and it connects you with job opportunities. And in addition, you can showcase your achievements and skills and build a personal brand that can attract attention from recruiters. So I think it's very helpful if you are looking for another opportunity or if you want to build a network.
Fantastic. Would Shanika or Bahram, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to add to what Sarab said. So I see LinkedIn profile as your marketing profile. So it's your own personal profile to market yourself. So that's where all recruiters look. I for one, I check if you have a professional photo up, if you have a bio that you created really well. And to add to what Sarab said, it's also an opportunity for you to check out the companies that you would like to work for. It's a great opportunity for you to network with recruiters, also connect with other employees and find out what the culture is like at that organization. So it's basically a tool for your advantage as a candidate.
Fantastic. Bahram, do you want to add anything else? Or
on top of what my colleague said here, it is a good place to gather information. It's a valuable resource for researching the companies, industries, and also individuals. So you can use it to prepare for interviews. You can use it for informational interviews. You can identify some of the potential clients, partners, gather some insights on people, organizations that you want to connect with. So yeah.
Yeah, I use it as a, I usually do a little bit of LinkedIn stalking, as I like to call it, digging in to kind of find out who the people are, the people that work there, and you get to see a bit of their career path as well. So I find with my clients, if they want to see, say, someone who is international and how they started to work in Canada, it's a great way to kind of trace their steps back and learn about company names that you might not find on LinkedIn, you might not find on Indeed, and then use that to kind of integrate it into their job search. That's great. All right. So the burning question for me, how do you use LinkedIn in your day-to-day work to help you find candidates? Go for it. Sarah, your hand is up. It's still up. So if you want to go first.
Sorry.
No, that's
sorry,
okay.
sorry.
Shanika, why don't you go first for this one, and then Bahram will go to you.
What I do, I personally use filters on LinkedIn. So if it is that I am looking for, example, a recruiter, I'm gonna put in like recruiting in the search just to find persons that are gonna pop up. As I said earlier, I look if they have a professional photo. I think I look at what they share, what content they share, because that's also important. LinkedIn is not a regular social media where you share stuff that you'll share on TikTok. So that's what I do. I use filters. I look at the job titles, their previous experience. It's basically what should be on your resume, but it's on like a platform. So that's what I look. I look whether persons have been using it as a professional means, and whether they have summarized their skills and experiences, whether their LinkedIn profile is also up to date. I think that's very important. A lot of persons forget to update your LinkedIn profile. It's important that you do for us jobs people who are recruiting, because we want to see where you're at and how you've grown over the years in your industry.
Okay, fantastic. Bahram, why don't you add?
In addition to that, we typically use the email feature. If you know that there is an email feature in LinkedIn that allows potential recruiters to send direct messages to candidates, even if they are not connected. So, which is also, by the way, a kind of a premium feature that most of the companies use. We use this feature to introduce ourselves, sharing the job profiles, engaging in the initial conversations with the potential candidates, and somewhat we also use it as employer branding. So we collaborate with the company's marketing teams, different areas within HR to maintain that kind of a strong, professional, attractive presence on LinkedIn, and gather some of the referrals as well from other headhunters or recruiters that are active on the platform. They often encourage and facilitate some of the employee referrals for us. They can recommend some of the candidates from their own networks, providing a valuable source for the potential candidates.
Fantastic. And Sarap, do you want to add anything in there?
To be honest, I don't use LinkedIn database very often because we usually proceed through applications.
Okay.
However, candidates have sometimes missing information on their resumes. For example, I often see that their location, dates of employment, or years of study are not written on their resumes. So in these cases, I always find their profiles on LinkedIn and try to match their info. And frankly, I trust the info on LinkedIn more than the resume sent to me, because since everyone can see you on LinkedIn, such as managers or previous colleagues, the possibility of the individuals giving wrong information on LinkedIn decreases. So I trust the information on LinkedIn more, and the resumes prepared specifically for the companies are not like that. So in these cases, I use LinkedIn.
Okay, so I have a second question for you specifically, but I'll come back to that. But I just want to talk a bit about the points that you raised here. So I think, Shanika, the one that stood out to me was the job titles. So making sure that your job title is up to date and aligned with the employment that you're doing here in Canada. I think one of the things that we find with clients is that maybe the job title that they use back home might not be the same as what we're looking for in Canada. And you want to make sure that that matches so that you would come up in these searches. Yeah, I'm seeing nods from you. Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. And no, the nods are fine. The other thing I think, okay, so the professional side of things, I love that you mentioned LinkedIn is not Facebook. Do not be sharing your TikToks. Do not be sharing anything like that. This is a professional platform with a professional profile picture, professional information on there, the things that you would do in the office, not the things that you would do in your free time. And one that stood out to me was the content sharing. I think that that's a really important part that that's something that you would look into. So I guess what you're trying to say is it is really quite important to be active on LinkedIn. Yes?
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. It's very important to be active because we tend to look at what you share, what you're interested in, you know, and it kind of give us an overview of who you are before we even invite you for an interview. So it's important to be active. We see what your likes are, who endorsed you. So it's very important to be active on it and to see what engages you as well.
Absolutely. That's great. And obviously the up to date, I think, Sarah, you brought up a good point there. If the resume, you know, is missing some information, if LinkedIn's up to date, it's more of a reliable resource. So something to do. If those of you that are on the call, you know, you kind of started using LinkedIn 2 years ago and you haven't been back, tonight might be the time to get in there and make some good updates so that your job search becomes a bit easier. Can I ask you guys, does the open for work filter on your profile, is that something that draws you into a profile, or is it more about the content that's on there, more about the professionalism? Whoever wants to go for that one.
It's both for me because it depends on what roles you're filling. If you're filling a vacancy where you need to fill immediately and you see that someone is open for work, especially this year, I think many persons have been laid off. It's been a tough job market out there this year. So if you're filling a role where you need to fill it ASAP and you see that someone is open for work, of course, that grabs your attention pretty quickly. But it's both as well. You both look at what they share, how active they've been, how up to date their profile is, what their current location is. So it's a mixture of both. But yes, the open to work filter does work.
It does work. Okay, that's great, because I have seen some mixed information about that. You know, TikTok throws you off sometimes. And I'm sorry, that question was not on the list. So I appreciate you guys being willing to open that one or to answer that one. For you, Sarah, the point that I want to come back to, because it sounds to me like you focus more on using an ATS system when you're doing your searching. And we can come back to that once we kind of get through the LinkedIn profile stuff, because I think that that is a burning question for most people on the call as well. So we've kind of covered, I think, you know, what are the things that you look for on a LinkedIn profile? What are some of the things that put you off of a profile? Go for it, Bahram. You look like you wanted to answer that question really quickly.
Yeah,
go for it.
pretty much. so three to four items top of the mind. One is incomplete profile, lacking essential information such as profile picture, work history, education, and summary, which can make it difficult for recruiters to assess your qualifications. Unprofessional photos. Oh man, poorly chosen or unprofessional photos with shades, sunglasses, backgrounds, selfies, casual pictures. They can all give negative impression to recruiters. And to the extent that they would kind of disregard that profile at a second. Another thing is a negative or unprofessional post that I see most often in terms of being very political, using LinkedIn as a medium to convey other messages, continuously sharing negative unprofessional posts or comments, which can also reflect poorly on your character and judgment. Some of the more professional LinkedIn profiles, overuse of buzzwords. Excessive industry buzzwords, jargons, without any substance. These are like off-putting. The recruiters would value the clarity and authenticity, I would say. And I see the trend that with some of the professionals maybe is excessive self-promotion as a constant way of engaging with others or providing value to the network without having the substance in those posts. Or it might be very counterintuitive to say that sometimes excessive network building in the sense that you are rapidly connecting with a large number of people, sending invites one after another, especially if you have few meaningful connections, it can raise suspicions of like spammy or unauthentic behavior. These are the things that would put me off.
I love that excessive connecting. I want to come back to that. Shanika, did you want to add something in?
No, Bahram nailed it. He nailed it 100%. The only thing I was gonna say is that I think some persons in tech or the tech industry will disagree with a professional photo because it's supposed to be like a cool environment. So I've been learning that recently. I don't know how you feel about it, but yeah, I strongly agree that we should have professional photos up there.
It's really funny. My brother is a senior manager, and he had a picture where he looked like it was a Halloween costume. And then I made him update it, and he put a picture of him in a tank top with an electric guitar. And I
Yeah,
was
apparently the tech industry, it's cool to have cool photos. So
I
I'm
just
learning
couldn't
that, so
believe
like,
it.
yeah.
Sarah, I don't know. Do you want to add anything in?
No, thank you.
You're okay. Okay. So I just want to come back to that excessive connections. One thing that I find, I will accept almost any connection as long as they're within my city or my province. I find that I get a lot of connections from people are in a different country, or they're just connecting with me. They don't send any kind of connection request, any kind of just even a hello, nice to meet you. I've been at a job fair before where I did have my LinkedIn QR code, and people were not even talking to me. They were just scanning it and walking away. And I found it really off-putting because, the idea is that we're still, although it's a great connecting platform, this is a place where we're still supposed to connect. Can you talk a little bit more, maybe Bahram, about the excessive connections and why it might work against somebody?
Yeah, for sure. So one thing is that it should show that you have the genuine interest for the connection. What is the common purpose? Is there any shared goal or objective? Is there any shared interest in terms of like connecting with someone in terms of the industry that they're working at? What kind of profession are you looking for? And so you go after like inviting people in the related industry. But other than that, if you see people that are connecting for the sole purpose of like advertising on some of the posts, some of the content, those are the things that could really show through when you scroll down on a LinkedIn profile and see that the type of posts or comments, what's the objective? What's the outcome of that? Is it for the sole purpose of having it out there, investing in your networking and connections, or is it for a common purpose? That's key.
Okay. Okay, perfect. I don't know if either of the other panelists want to add anything in, or you good? Okay. Okay, perfect. So now I want to know, what are some do's and don'ts for people's bios, their job titles, and the details? I know we talked a bit about matching the title, obviously, to the Canadian occupation you're looking for. But what advice would you have for people to kind of either take off that they've got on there right now under their bio or their details, or something that they might be missing that they should add in? Bahram, go for it. You can take it away. And then Sarah, I'll come over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, really good question. First one, I would suggest we go back to our LinkedIn profiles and craft a strong headline at the top. Do create a compelling story or a compelling professional headline that indicates your current job title, key skills as well, or industry focus. This is one of the first things that recruiters see on top of the profile. And also don't leave the summary section empty. So write a well-crafted summary, proofread it for sure. Do write a well-structured and engaging summary that provides an overview of your career, your expertise, and your career goals and aspirations. And also highlight some of the key achievements in your work history. Include some of those specific accomplishments in your work experience section to showcase your contributions to the past employers, even the current ones. And I do encourage customizing your LinkedIn URL. So there's a unique address at the top of the profile, which you can customize. So the default version is very lengthy in terms of the alphanumeric numbers and characters. Do customize your LinkedIn profile because you want to leverage them and put it on your resume and to make it look more professional and easier to share. These are some of the do's that I have in my mind, but happy to share the don'ts after.
Okay, perfect. Sarah, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, I would like to add that while this field allows up to 2,000 characters, it will only display the first 2 lines before the readers have to click to see more. So it's really important that it is not the place to save the best for last. So I would recommend everyone to be sure to showcase their strongest attributes and achievements in the first sentences, so that you to attract the attention of the recruiters. And another thing is, every profession has its own unique shorthand that insiders use to communicate conveniently. Therefore, having a common business language on your profile is important too.
Okay, that's great. And this was actually going to be a question of mine. I imagine a LinkedIn profile might be like a resume, where you don't want to see a 10-page resume. You want to see, like a really short and concise few sentences. I mean, if you want to talk about your key achievements and you want to fill in that summary, you still want to make it readable. You want to have it something that could be kind of scanned in 30 seconds with some keywords that aren't necessarily buzzwords that are standing out to kind of catch your attention.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, okay, perfect. And then, so why don't we get into the don'ts?
Yeah. Should I go with that or?
Yeah, sure.
So one was don't leaving the summary empty. The other one is avoiding some of the generic headlines that you see, like only the job title, or customizing it that reflects your unique personality or skills and experience or expertise. That's pretty much common. And don't neglect your work experience. I mean, include the detailed information on your work history. LinkedIn also gives you the feature to talk about the gaps, the experience gaps. So you can also add the gaps, why there is a gap there. What was the reason? Was it because of a voluntary experience? Was it because of the immigration? So you can leverage some of those options. So don't neglect that. And don't inflate the achievements. I mean, being honest about your accomplishments, avoid exaggerating or contributions or skills. And don't ignore networking. So don't use LinkedIn only as a digital resume, to Liz's point. Actively engage with your network, connect with the professionals in the field and build relationships. Something else around the privacy settings that I just encountered, that ensure that your privacy settings are appropriately configured the way that you like your profile to be viewed, so that it balances your desire for privacy to be found by the recruiters or not. These are some top of the mind items for me.
Perfect. And Sarah, I don't know if you wanted to add some things in.
Oh, thank you.
You're okay. And Shanika,
got
are you
it.
good as well? Yeah. Okay, perfect. That's interesting about the privacy settings. I think that's one important thing for job seekers to know. And this is, I know it's off script as well again, but what about that? So you put the open for work on, but you let your employer know, but you're currently working there and they don't know that you're looking for work. What would you recommend? It's probably better to flip it so only recruitment can see that you're looking for work.
Yeah, you definitely, LinkedIn does give you that option where you can, without putting the logo, you can actually put open to work and the list of roles that you're looking for. And then you can ensure that only recruiters see that information. But you also have to be mindful that your employer is also a recruiter, and we tend to have LinkedIn, so you have to be very mindful and be careful how you go about it. What I recommend mostly is not to stalk employers, but reach out to an employer who you may see post a job posting that you may be interested in. Send them I find that most persons have gotten their jobs that way, where they send the person who posts the job posting and add just a message to say, hi, I submitted my resume for this role and I'll be interested in having a conversation. But leave it at that. Don't follow up and be like, hey, you didn't respond. Yeah, just leave it at, I'll be interested to have a conversation.
That's awesome. You're leading me into this one. I really want to know. So, because I see lots of connection requests that I get, I can only imagine as HR or as recruiters, what kind of connections or how many connection requests that you get. But in terms of that, talk about, please, what does it mean to professionally connect with someone? What is the right kind of wording in those connection requests? How do you go about it? I think that this is one thing that I see learning to network in Canada. We do things differently here. I think the reason that we like so much space and we have such a small population is because we like our distance. We do not want you to come on too strong. And I think it's differently done in different places. So yeah, if you could talk a little bit about what's your recommendation on a good connection request? How should you broach reaching out to an employer or an HR person in a company that you want to work for? What do you guys like to see? Go for it, Sarah.
First of all, I would recommend to follow them on LinkedIn and learn more about them through their profile. So what they have achieved, what are their interests, and do they share content or write articles? I think this effort can go a long way, and interact with their content through commenting. It's very important too. And it may sound a little bit daunting, but starting posting constantly, like 2 times a week, this keeps your profile fresh and in the feed of your connections. And provide value that cannot be Googled. Post how you accomplished things and what you learned. And another thing is figuring out what your story is and how you want to translate it to your audience based on what inspires them. I strongly believe that we are all more inspiring than we think. And everyone has relatable and genuine experience that are available to others. I think, yes, that's pretty much what I would say.
Okay, fantastic. On this one, I'd love to hear from all three of you because I think you're going to have different ideas, different responses. Go for it, Bahram.
Thank you. So yeah, this one might sound similar to what we do with resumes. Customize, tailor it. So avoid the generic messages that are there by default in LinkedIn. So the way I would go about it is, first of all, address my recipient with their name. I would like to make it more personal. It shows that I'm taking the time to address them directly. I would sometimes, if it's through a mutual connection on LinkedIn, I would reference a common connection, mention that person in your message, and kind of establishing the connection and provide the context. I would explain why I'm connecting. I would clearly explain and state the reason for which I'm connecting. Am I interested in networking? Am I interested in job opportunities? Is there a collaboration opportunity? Or simply information sharing? Be very specific about your intention. Express your interest, your genuine interest, that you're genuinely interested in the connection in the recipient. Mention something specific from their profile, which Sarah told us about, maybe a recent accomplishment, an article that they have shared, or shared interest that you have with that recipient. And be very concise and polite. Keep your message very brief, to the point. Respect the recipient's time. So it's not going to be a letter. To be courteous with your tone, and share your common interests. It's an interest, it's a hobby, it's a professional background. It's just mention it, because common interests are an excellent way of playing the role of a conversation starters. And then some of the professionals, they highlight their value. They explain that how connecting with that recipient helps us, help that person or the recipient, what skills, knowledge, or experiences they bring to the table. Sometimes they offer help, express their willingness to help with the project or whatever. Using professional language all the time, and proofreading for any spelling or grammatical errors in that. It just demonstrates that level of attention to details.
I love
And then
that.
sometimes, I mean, seems like a call to action, but conclude your message with a clear intention, whatever it is. Ask if they like to connect, or if they have any questions or topics that they'd like to discuss. That's how I would go about it.
Fantastic. Shanika, your turn.
Yeah, I have nothing different. Definitely do your research before reaching out. Research the company, do your research on the person that you plan to connect with to see what their accomplishments have been like. Ensure that you have questions for them. Send a personalized connection request saying, introduce yourself. As Baram said, say what you are, what the purpose of your message is about, what would you like to learn about, and definitely also try to connect with employees as well. I think a lot of time we think we have to connect to the employer or the recruiter. We can also connect with employees, and that will provide us with a great networking opportunity. But it's the same process where you personalize a message, you state your intention of why you're communicating, and then you definitely start the networking from there.
Awesome. So there's some great points that you guys made there that I want to touch on. One is spelling. Grammar and spelling are two of mine. I fully recognize that, the people that I'm working with are working in at least a second, if not a third, maybe even a fourth language, but it's integral to make sure that there's not grammar or spelling mistakes. I love that you pointed out, Bahram, that it is an attention to detail issue. If you want to demonstrate a soft skill, and one of those soft skills is attention to detail, this is how you do it. Just double, triple check before you send that message.
Yeah, and I just want to interject, Liz, sorry, but LinkedIn does have that option where you can edit your message. So even if you send a message, you can always go back. I always kind of, sometimes I proofread and then I miss something, and then I go back and I'm like, oh, that makes no sense. And you can always edit that message. So LinkedIn now has that, which is great. So there's so much time that you can actually ensure that your grammar is correct.
Awesome. And also, the internet, the world is going crazy right now. We've got our good pal AI that we're all scared of, but loving how much it helps us. It's going to solve your grammar, your language mistakes, that kind of thing. Grammarly is a great way to go as well, but definitely checking those connections, and do the same, please, on your resumes, on your cover letters, because this really does stand out to an employer. I know when I worked as a recruiter, I'm ruthless in that way. I used to teach English. I was an English major. I see spelling, grammar mistakes, I just immediately, a red flag goes up. And if I see multiple of them, I would just move forward and look at a different profile. But that's me. The other thing two things I want to touch on. So one would be the connection message. One thing, obviously, some people you only get, I think, 185 characters. Some people you can write a full note. So I think it's important that if you only have that short amount of characters, that you're being really targeted with your message, but still trying to get some of those essential qualities in. What would you guys say about that? I'm seeing nods from you, so I think that you might agree. Yeah, go for it, Bahram.
Clearly the intention first. The intention, the genuine intention about the message, and being very clear, call to act, having a call to action. Okay. That will be the minimum viable product for that.
But can I ask, when you say call to action, it's not like, hi, Mr. Manager, I want a job.
Definitely not.
Okay, yeah. Good. I just want to clear that one up. Okay, great. And Shanika, go for it.
Yeah, be genuine. Authenticity is what attracts people. So don't go and be like, go around beating around the bushes. Get to the point and be polite while doing that. I would say just be yourself, be authentic, and state your purpose of while you're reaching out.
Perfect. And Sarah?
And yes, and I also want to add that avoid cookie cutter messages. Like, it's very similar what you said. Like, connect with a personalized message about what connects you both, such as graduating from the same school, working in the same line of business or industry, or being a member in the same association, and how much you would love to keep in touch, and craft a thoughtful message. And while doing it, like, someone truly from yourself that inspires confidence in others.
Okay, that's great. And one thing, so Bahram, you mentioned, maybe name dropping if you've made that connection, but I want to stress here, and I think I'm going to see 3 nods here. Don't name drop if you haven't connected personally with that person. If it's just someone that has LinkedIn connected with you, they are not your friend. No. Don't name drop them. You have to actually know them. Yeah, and I got nods and smiles and laughs there. Okay, good. I knew I was on the right track. Now, Shanika, you mentioned connecting with employees. and I think this is great. I often recommend this to my clients as a great form of maybe getting an informational interview somewhere so you can learn, is this actually the right company for me? It looks like, you know, they got my job title. It looks like a great place to work, but if you connect with those employees, it might be a great way to get in. Could you speak a little bit more about that?
For sure. You learn a lot about the company's culture when you connect with an employee. And for example, if it's a role or a department that you're interested in working in as well, you learn so much about what that person actually does. And in a lot of companies, there are we provide referral bonuses. So for our employees to introduce other persons to our company. So that's also a great opportunity. My network, I've hired so many people when I was in engineering through that means, where somebody connected with them on LinkedIn, they realize this person is a great person and they refer them, and they got a big bonus for doing that. So there's so much opportunity that comes from just connecting with an employee.
That's awesome. I don't know if Aram or Sarab, you want to add anything to that?
No.
You're good.
No, that's it.
Yeah, I think that's great. That referral bonus too. I mean, who doesn't like to make a little bit of money by getting somebody a job? I mean, it's a win-win, right? You feel good because you got somebody a position, and then you get a little bit of extra money in your bank account, especially these days with the cost of living.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
sometimes
great.
those persons even know other persons in other companies that they can introduce you to. So that networking expands a little bit, and it helps to build your own professional network.
Awesome. And again, Shanika, you're being a great co-host here. You're helping me lead into my next question, which is, how do you recommend people leverage the connections that they have on LinkedIn already? What do you do with them? So you're going out there, you're making all these connection requests, you know, oh, look, you're at almost 500 plus, where we all want to get because we feel so popular. But what do you do when you get to that point? What recommendations do you guys have? Oh, yep, Sarah, sorry, I forgot I'm the host here. Go for it.
And constantly search for and seek out individuals for your network with the same purpose, same interests and values. Proactively reach out to people who inspire you and interact with their content and add value discussions. And secondly, focus on developing deep relationships by supporting others. Ask others if they need help with their projects or how you can contribute to their community, and create a content that contributes to what your networks want to know, actually. Not just what interests you, but search for their interest and contribute to that interest too. And we talked about call to action, and join groups and follow pages that resonate with your professional interests. And ask and answer. Use the platform to ask questions or seek feedback. Similarly, if someone has a question, chime in. Active participation can position you as a helpful industry peer. And lastly, amplify voices. I think we should use our platform to amplify diverse voices, perspectives, and talents. The more inclusive our network is, the richer it becomes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, Shanika, why don't you go next?
Yeah, just to expand on what Sarab said, definitely engage regularly with content on LinkedIn, whether by liking, sharing, commenting, reach out to persons for advice, especially if they're in a role. Suppose you want to become an HR director in the next 5 years, find an HR director, reach out to them, ask them for advice. Maybe they can even mentor you, introduce yourself professionally, build that relationship, get the advice and the mentorship that you need from doing that. There are also courses on LinkedIn. Take those courses. I highly recommend that you do take those courses when you see them. There's so many networking events that are also posted there. Find a networking event that interests you and participate in those events.
Awesome. Bahram, you want to add in?
Sure. I mean, engaging with the content is the right thing to do, but only nerdy type of advice is also leverage the people you may know feature. It's also on the AI for the LinkedIn, of course, helping us suggesting some of the potential connections based on your existing connections. Sometimes people neglect that opportunity to look over and see what are the contacts that are suggested by LinkedIn based on my shared interest with them. So you can also leverage that.
Okay, that's great. And again, you guys are bringing up such great pieces of information here. So in terms of the joining the groups and the communities, I think one thing that is important is recognizing that LinkedIn's not just for finding work. It's not just a job board. It's actually a place where you can get so much more from it that will most likely eventually lead to employment. So it might not, you know, sending out that message that says, hey, give me a job, it's not going to work. But joining communities, joining groups, following the employer, you know, commenting on their posts, but commenting with, you know, either genuine interest or something that's going to add value, will be quite useful. The other thing that I wanted to talk on was the courses. So there's LinkedIn Learning. There's, you know, some of the other kind of certifications and stuff that you can take on there. From an HR perspective, do you guys look at that on a profile? Do you see value in people using those?
I personally do. I think you're advanced, you're developing yourself, you're a continuous learner, and that is attractive for me as a recruiter. When I was doing recruiting and sourcing, I'll definitely look for those things. I look for professional memberships that you're part of. I look for your volunteering experience. Like, is this person volunteering? How are they getting involved in community? Because I am big on community building. So those are some of the stuff I look for. I look if you're developing yourself continuously. So sharing those certification or those courses that you do on LinkedIn, I think it's great. It means that you're an independent learner and you're the one seeking out these programs to develop yourself. So that's definitely something I looked out for when I was a recruiter.
Okay, sure. I don't know if the other two want to say anything on terms of that, or we're good.
I totally agree.
Good, yeah.
I look forward to it.
Okay, awesome. And then the other one was advice. So looking for advice. You know, one thing obviously I find LinkedIn great for, and I know I've mentioned, is informational interviews. Can you talk a bit about, you know, what it's like to reach out to somebody for an informational interview, maybe a bit of the messaging that they could use and why that information is valuable? Nobody wants to answer my question.
Sorry, something came in the chat and I got distracted reading it.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Sorry,
It's just a
what's the
little bit of
question,
dead
Liz?
air. I'm not uncomfortable. No, it's okay. I was just going to say about the, you know, the advice that you can get from people on LinkedIn, whether it's informational interview, and I can reform it. I didn't actually like the question that I asked, so this gives me the opportunity to ask it again. But, you know, leveraging LinkedIn for advice, informational interviews, that kind of thing. And could you just speak a little bit more about that aspect of using LinkedIn? Yeah, go for it, Bahram.
Yeah, I will give it a shot. So I will definitely start with myself. Like, there's a narrative or a storytelling that you need to do when you go to people asking for advice as an informational interview, learning about the potential vacancy in a company, whether it's a recruiter or an employee of that company. So what's your career story? That typical tell me about yourself, which is fairly predictable. You should leverage and talk a little bit, doing some elevator pitch on your story, that how you have become at the level of profession that you're at, and why did you choose that industry or that profession. So your storytelling would also include the skills that you need to succeed in the field, or asking or inquiring about those skills. And also you could ask about the interview process. Some people think that, okay, it's not appropriate to ask questions, but you can ask questions about how they got their job if you're seeking advice from the employees of other companies. But from the recruiters themselves, that you could ask potentially what is the interview process like, or they can redirect you to some of the resources that they have available. But definitely, you want to do a little bit of storytelling for yourself, and then build on top of that.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I don't know if either of you want to add in on that one, or we can move on.
I agree
Oh,
with
yeah,
Baram.
go
The
for it.
only thing I was gonna add is if you're applying for a role, look on the job posting, take some keywords out of that posting and use that to make your summary. So use that to help to build their story. So look what they're looking for in that job description, and when you're gonna send that message to that employer or recruiter, ensure that you use some of those keywords in your story and speak about your accomplishments for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yep. Okay, good. I'm going to ask one more LinkedIn question, and then I'm going to quickly, we've got about 10 minutes left before we open it up to our guests here. So one more LinkedIn question, but then I'm going to ask you 2 recruiter questions that I want to know, and I'm sure a lot of people on this call want to know to clear up some misinformation. But first one, last LinkedIn question. Do you recommend people get LinkedIn Premium? Is it worth the money, or can you leverage the regular account and get the most out of it? What do you guys think? Yeah, Byram, go ahead.
Very quickly, pros and cons. It gives you some cases, it gives you increased visibility because most of the premium members often appear at the top of the search results, but for the search results, it doesn't guarantee getting the job. So it gives visibility on the search results. And
Okay.
another pro for that is the in-mail credits that you get. So you can mail other connections you're not connected with. And the learning and development component that Shanika told us about, those LinkedIn learning and getting those certifications or badges. And the cons would be that it has a limited impact on the job search because it can improve visibility, but it does not guarantee job offers. A well-optimized free profile often does the job, and the free features are there. Like many of the core networking job searching features on LinkedIn are available for everyone free. So you can still build a strong network, and then often it often also gives you like free trials of premium plans, but you don't need that for like landing on a job.
Okay, great. Sarah, do you want to go next?
Yes, I agree. Personally, I do not use a premium account. Of course, it has some advantages, but you can actively use LinkedIn without this too. I prefer to contact first by sending an invitation and then sending a message to those who are open to communication. And I think that's enough, actually.
Okay, awesome. And Shanika?
It depends on individual needs. The premium offers like additional features such as enhanced search filters where you can find particular jobs, email messages to connect with users outside of your network. Because I know some recruiters, some employers, you can't just connect with them directly if you're on the free version. So you need that feature if you want to connect with a particular employer. So it depends on individual needs, I would say, but it can be beneficial for sure, especially for those who are actively seeking opportunities or looking to expand their professional network.
Okay, one thing I recommend too to my clients is you get a month free. So if you are smart
Take
and do some
advantage.
research before you sign up for that free month, you could get a list of all of the people that you want to connect with that you can't connect with, and then use that month wisely, get in there, connect, get your messages out there, and then get out of there before they charge your credit card, because it's a bit pricey. But I thank you all for those pieces of advice. That's great. Okay, so now these are my questions. I want to talk keywords. I want to talk ATS. So let's start with keywords. I think can be confusion. Even myself, I get confused as a recruiter, as someone who's looking at lots of resumes every day. And you're all from different industries, so this is perfect. What are keywords that you're looking to see from a job posting on the resume? Is it soft skills? Do you want to see soft skills on a resume? Do you want to just see the technical skills? Could you just talk a little bit about that? And I'd love to hear from all 3 of you. Yeah, go for it, Sarah.
Because I'm working in the tech industry, the first thing I'm looking for is tech skills, because they are must for us. But after the tech skills, I'm looking for soft skills too. But with these soft skills, I would like to add that we talked about it actually, but I just would like to emphasize it, to use the soft skills and the personality characters that is very unique to you. Because with this help of AI, I'm receiving the resumes, they are simply the same. They are the same. The names are changing, the company names are changing, but the soft skills and how they express them is the same. So I'm looking for something more authentic and more specific for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, yeah. Sorry, keep going.
No, please continue.
Shanika, why don't you go next?
I can't say it's any different from Sirab. Definitely, I look for the skills related to the job that I post for, and definitely if you have any soft skills. I'm big on team play, being a teammate. So I'm big on team. If you're a team player, if you're collaborative, so for sure we do look for the skills related to the job. Ensure that you have those skill sets for real and don't just state them on paper. And definitely soft skills. And I really think if you, because soft skills are not necessarily things that can be learned at all times. So it's important to have those skill sets.
Okay, awesome. And Bahram?
And then finally, that it's a combo for sure, but it's the eyes of a recruiter who looks through the resumes. It's not only the AI matching the keywords. So that I wouldn't suggest copy pasting everything and every keyword that you see necessary in the job posting. So your resume, your LinkedIn resume or LinkedIn profile would sound like if you have copied and pasted everything from the job posting, which actually flags for the recruiters. Because if we spend like anywhere between 6 to 30 seconds on that profile, you would understand that if the person got everything copy paste or customize or tailored those values about the company, those soft skills, those tech accomplishments. So that is very nuanced.
Awesome. And Shanika, did you want to add something in? Your hand was still up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, definitely the keywords you're gonna take out of those job postings are the ones that are most relevant for the job, and it's good to take out the most relevant ones because our ATS systems, our application tracking systems, we also use those keywords. So look for the one that you think is most relevant for the particular role that you're applying for, and it will definitely give you an advantage.
And I just have a question about the soft skills. So for instance, Shanika, someone's whispering there. Can we mute the audience, Joanna or Irene? But I appreciate whoever that was very quiet about it. So just talking about soft skills, you said team player. Now for me, one of the things is like where someone says, I'm a team player, I'm collaborative, I got interpersonal skills, and they start listing all of the soft skills. I prefer if they kind of demonstrate it in an accomplishment statement or something like that, where they can demonstrate that they've been a part of a team that has been able to produce something, instead of just saying team player, because I feel like anybody can say they're a team player. Anybody can say they have excellent communication skills, or like we talked about earlier, attention to detail, but instead demonstrate it through something that you've done in your work. And I'm seeing lots of nods. Do we want to comment?
I agree with you. It tends to come out in the interview. I tend to ask situational questions to see what you have done in your previous experience, and those soft skills tend to come out. So even if you just jot them down there, it will come out on your interview. But I agree with you. Definitely put it in your accomplishments. Put whatever project you work on, whether you work on some cross-functional projects that you are proud of. So definitely put those in your accomplishments.
Awesome. And Bahram, go for it.
That's an interesting question, because LinkedIn also got a section related to skills, and it allows you to pick 50 skills. So it's not a part that you would look at. You would go about like selecting everything there and just complete the 50 skills over there. But it's more about manifestation of those soft skills in the achievement statements. And for the work experience, I would just give this nudge to people that don't copy paste the job descriptions in your list of experiences. Show the achievements, accomplishments, and use those soft skills to really as a connective tissue for that.
Awesome. I think, this was such great information. I think there's some learning lessons from here. Number one, we can see how intelligent these kind three people are speaking to us. They are going to notice these kinds of things. You are not going to be able to trick them. They most likely are the ones who have written that job description. So they are very much going to know if it looks exactly the same on a resume. And I think another point that got brought up is it's about being honest on your profile, on your resume, because at some point you are going to have to prove this, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in an interview. It's great if you think that you've got 50 different skills, but let's be realistic. We generally, I think as people, we have maybe 5 to maybe 10 skills that we are really exceptionally good at, and those are the ones that you want to focus on. So I appreciate you guys sharing this. Now, the last couple of minutes, I want to talk about ATS. I know that there are so many people who are out there, they think the only reason that they haven't got a job is because they can't get through the ATS. The ATS is this giant wall that says, no, we don't want to hire you. We don't want to see your application. You didn't put the right keyword in, so you're out of here. Can you guys speak a little bit about how you use the ATS when you do search for keywords, maybe what kind of well, we've already said that it's from the job postings, but can you just speak about how an ATS works so we can clear up some misinformation? Go for it, Sarah.
Yes, I have implemented 2 big ATS throughout my HR career. I have implemented Taleo and I have implemented SuccessFactors. Actually, ATS, they do not work all the time that way. So yes, they are blocking some resumes or some lacking competencies, but it's not like they're 100% do that. It's not like that. It's just a recommendation, and according to the recommendation, especially me as a recruiter, I don't trust ATS 100%. I trust the candidate, I trust the resume, because there are different ways to explain a skill, explain a task. It's not just the keywords. You can explain the same task with other keywords too. So the perception of ATS being a big blocker is not true, actually. I mean, it's just perception, it's not true. And I forgot my second point.
That's okay. We can go on, and if it comes back to you, we'll
Okay,
be more than happy to have you speak again. Shanika, why don't you share your bits of advice?
Absolutely. What the ATS does, as Sarah said, it definitely recommend your top candidates. And Indeed does that too. If you apply for a job on Indeed and it asks you to do any skills test, I think it's skills test, it's basically because they recommend like top candidates for that role. But we have, as recruiters, we get lots of resumes, even over 200 for one role. Sometimes we definitely browse through pretty quickly for some major key roles, because there are some roles that you need a particular skill set to do. So it's not that it does it all the time. It depends on the role that we're trying to fill. I usually go through at least all the resumes. I quickly go through them. I hope everything is perfectly summarized on the first page, because after the first page, I think I move on. So please sell yourself really well on your first page of your resume. But it's not a thing where the ATS completely block you if you don't have. Humans also check your resumes. I would hope we all, as recruiters and HR managers, check resumes. So it just that it makes a recommendation that these are the top candidates.
Awesome. Bahram, is there anything you want to add in?
I guess Shanika was spot on with the human eyes, observing and looking for those details on the application. So it's not about matching words or like comparing and contrasting with the keywords, but do make your effort to make your point, sell yourself for that role on the first page, because lots of these ATSs gives you the quick view to the profile, and the quick view for the recruiter means spending 30 seconds max on the first page and then moving on.
Right. Those are all excellent points. I think especially the first page and really getting that point out there. I know one of the things that we focus on with our clients is saying, that top third of your resume is a really important part of your resume, where you can really quickly showcase your skills, your education. If need be, maybe your education does fit in at the back of your resume, but whatever it is that's really specific in that posting that you're looking for, that's there really quickly for you to see. The other thing, and Bahram, you really pointed on it again, but I think all three of you have said there is a human behind that computer. Shanika, you just said you look at every resume, and like if that's a 200 resumes, I know I would too. I mean, I wanted to find the perfect candidate for the role, because I want to close this position. That's what my aim is, and so I want to make sure that I'm reviewing these things. But I am not going to spend very much time, because if I had to intimately read 200 resumes line for line, I'm never going to get any work done. And then can I just ask, in terms of using the ATS to search for keywords, when I used it in my previous career, if I was trying to find an assistant manager role, with some, say, retail experience. I might put in retail and assistant manager, and then that's going to pull up all of the people. So would you search something like team player?
No.
No,
No.
No,
Yeah.
but I would maybe search something like leadership.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And I imagine that you wouldn't search something like team player because you're going to get, I know the ATS I worked with, we had like 4 million resumes in there. I'm going to get a million resumes. It's not going to help me refine my search at all. But could you maybe speak to individually, just off the top of your head, some of the maybe keywords that you're looking for? Like, Sarah, for instance, you in IT, I know it's a bit role specific, but is there some specific keywords that you generally use to look for?
Yes, there are some technical terms according to our tech stack that I'm looking for, depending on the role. Okay. But they are too tech. I don't think that you will wanna listen to that.
Go into, okay, that's fine.
For the soft skills, I don't look for things like team player or like creative, effective. They are the words that people are using too much. But like having a management experience, that's something that you can differentiate yourself. Or I don't know, having a specific experience, like for me, for example, I have an implementing experience too much. Like not every HR does that. So you can put such kind of skills, but I recommend not to put this team player, effective problem solver, creative, those kind of words, because everybody is using those words. They don't help you to differentiate yourself, to stand out from the crowd.
Awesome. Okay, and Bahram, I'll let you put the last comment here before we open it up to the floor.
Thank you. So it is industry specific. For instance, if it is insurance and it is very techy, I would say like CIP, Chartered Insurance Professional, or CPHR. But generally, as a rule of thumb, it is not how we search, and we do not put the soft skills in there. They are related mostly to the experience. For example, if you're hiring someone for an org learning team, you would put in like the curriculum design. You would put some of the transferable skills and some of the technical skills required for the job.
Okay, that's awesome. And Shanika, do you want to add anything in, or we'll go to the questions now?
No, the skill the keywords are definitely role specific, I would say, and it depends on the level of the role. If it's a junior role, intermediary, senior role, so it varies.
Okay, awesome. And now for everybody that's on the call, this is your time to get in the chat and start asking some questions. I think that it's going to be better if I read them out just for a little bit of control here. So please start getting active in the chat, and I'm just going to start working down from what we've already got in there. So Svetlana, I'm going to start with you. I like your very first question. Is LinkedIn a trusted platform, especially in a world with so much spam, with so many weird people that are out there trying to connect with us? We never know if it's legitimate or not. What do you guys think in terms of connection requests? Bahram, go for it.
So quick answer, yes, it is trusted. And second, I mean, I don't know if you have tried, but it has a feature now embedded in LinkedIn that you can identify based on a government issued document with a third party, of course. In some of the countries and some of the provinces, it is available, that people can also go at length of like proving their identity and things like that. But it short answer, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Do either of you want to add to that, or that's good? Trusted platform.
Yes,
okay, perfect. And sorry, Anat, I missed your question. Wondering, how should you look for opportunities in major cities in Canada using LinkedIn? It's a pretty broad question, but do you have maybe a tip or so that we could throw in there?
You can use the search button.
Yeah. Be specific about your search
filters.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And searching companies, but I think we talked about it a little bit earlier too. Google is a great friend if you want to say, and I don't know what your occupation is, but let's say, for instance, you're a civil engineer. Google civil engineer companies, you're going to get a list of them. You can start going into LinkedIn. You can start looking at the companies. If you start looking at the employees and you start tracking what their work history was, it's going to open up a ton of other companies for you. And then you can really use that to broaden your job search. That's one thing that I recommend. Shanika, I don't know if you want to add.
Yeah, and for the companies that you're interested in, even if you look on their sites and there are no open vacancies, you can always create an alert. LinkedIn give you that feature where you create an alert, and every time they post a new role, you'll get an alert in your email. So that's also one way.
Okay, that's great. And Noor is saying, thanks for an informative session. So even if we don't buy LinkedIn Premium, hold on one second. Even if we do not buy LinkedIn Premium, but still you think we can properly utilize LinkedIn in order to, okay, so we don't need Premium to properly utilize or leverage LinkedIn. No, we're getting a lot of
no, you can utilize it on the free version.
Okay, and then the second question, I think this is a great one. Do you think that connecting with the recruiter or the employees can give a negative impact because they think you're desperate? This is a great question, actually, Noor, thank you.
No, on the contrary, it shows your enthusiasm, your interest, your genuine interest in the role, and you can learn so much from the employees in that company about the interview process, about the role itself, and also approaching the recruiters. Some tech companies, assuming like they receive hundreds of applications for a particular role, at that times, it is also advised to approach the recruiter and very briefly say that I have applied for this role and these are my strengths. Could you go and look at my resume? So at times, yeah, it is also useful.
Yeah, that it's very helpful to reach out. When I was a recruiter, a lot of persons reach out, and that's how I even go and check their resume, you know? So it's good to reach out, but be mindful that you're not bothering the person. Don't follow up with me every single day and say, hi, Shanika, you didn't respond. I sent you my resume, you know, just your first message. Usually you can see when the person read it, you see their little head beside the message, mean they read it. So even if I haven't responded to you on LinkedIn, more than likely I've seen your message.
Sarah, do you want to add anything in there?
Yes, I don't want to add something, but I just want to express that I totally agree on that. Today, I have a candidate. He wrote me through LinkedIn. He somehow found my work email, like my corporate email, and he emailed me. Then he phoned me. And he was a good candidate at the beginning, actually, but after today...
Amazing.
So yes, be careful. Like, don't try to rush the process.
That's great. I think that's really important. And it's something that I say to my clients often, that the job seeker's clock ticks much faster than an employer's clock. You know, an employer has a business to run, or HR has a lot of things to go. Like they're not just trying to fill roles, you know, they have a lot of other work to do. And so if they don't immediately respond to you, and that immediacy can even be like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month. I had one client who got an interview 3 months after they applied for the job. Like, unfortunately, it does take time. So patience is key. Can I ask though, so, okay, we know now, don't call, you know, don't follow up too much, but is it worthwhile, like say maybe after a week or two, to maybe give you a little check-in? Would you recommend something like that? And one, I would say, and that's it?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
After 2 weeks.
Say
Yeah.
nods across the way. Okay, that's perfect. So let's just see here. Sorry, a rep is asking, do you recommend using the resume that LinkedIn generates?
No.
No, please,
Okay.
No.
personalize your resume, please.
Yeah.
Make
Never.
it your own story.
Never trust AI to land you a job.
Yes, please.
Love it. Thank you, Bahram. Look at that. We don't need AI. He's trying to talk himself out of it or keep himself in a job here, I think. But I think that that's great. Can you notice when something's not authentically written? What do you guys think?
Most of the time, yes.
Perfect.
You can, yeah.
Okay.
And I said even if you don't notice, they always fall short in the interview.
Yes, exactly.
Amazing. Yeah. I love it. I love it. But yes, okay, that's great. In your view, is it worth reaching out to headhunters on LinkedIn and sending them your resume? Any thoughts?
Yeah, why not?
I would
It
say,
can,
yeah.
it
Yeah,
can.
it's okay to send your resume on LinkedIn. It's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you do customize a message with the resume to say, I'm interested in this particular role, and yeah, be authentic with it.
Okay, that's great. And I think it's important to know, because there are lots of newcomers on the call, if anyone ever tries to charge you to help you find a job, get out of that message.
Yeah.
Any
Yes,
recruitment
please.
company is free. They charge the employer who is looking for the candidate. They are not
Yes.
going to charge the candidate themselves. So really
Yes.
important for you to know. Let's see here. So they want to go back to Joseph's wondering, when you say first page, do you mean cover letter? So when you're talking about the first page of your resume, are you talking cover letter or are you talking resume?
No,
We're talking about resume.
Resume, yes. Actually, I'm not a big fan of cover letters,
I
unfortunately.
was going to ask, I was hesitating.
I really think your resume says it all, but a lot of
Amazing.
companies still do ask for that cover letter. I get annoyed with cover letter, especially if you have an application form that you already put in all those information. But yes, so I'm not a big fan of cover letters, but definitely the first page of a
I
resume.
would also add on top of that that some of the companies on the company websites, if they have a mandatory placeholder, which is not quite often, it is not mandatory to have this cover letter, but if they have the placeholder for the cover letter, then yes, upload.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do encourage to kind of incorporate the cover letter with the resume, but very special cases. Most often,
Well,
the
that's
resume.
interesting. Interesting, because I do say, you know, make it one document, and then if they read your cover letter, they read it, and if not, they'll get to your resume. The one thing I do coach is if it says don't add a cover letter, follow instructions, because again, it shows attention to detail. I think that's interesting about the cover letter. I was having a discussion about this just the other day with a client, and I said, you know, for all of the applications that someone sees, if you're going to write a cover letter, make it intriguing. At least that
You
first
definitely
paragraph.
should, though.
Yeah.
If you're writing one, make it intriguing. But yes,
Well,
if
and I
you have
think
to write one, I don't recommend.
well, and I'm thinking of how many times you guys must read, I am thrilled to see the posting on
I am
this.
very
I am
excited
so
to apply.
excited. Yeah, it's like the whole world is very excited to apply. So really kind of engaging that first line to make it a bit catchy. I try to say it's like reading a book, right? If the first line's not interesting, most often you're going to put it down.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. We're going to have to revamp our cover letter writing styles here at CareerPath. I thank you guys. Okay, so moving on, let's see here. Obadiah, you are saying, important question. We used to tailor our CV to be closer to the job ad, and there might be some differences. Hold on a second. I just need to read this to make it make sense. During the resume workshop, we used to tailor our CVs to be closer to the job ad. In this case, if the recruiter checked my LinkedIn account, and there's differences. Okay, I see. So if the resume doesn't match the LinkedIn account, is this a red flag for you, or are you still going to, you know, proceed with the candidate?
If it's totally mismatch, yes, it's a red flag for me, because most of the time I look for the candidates on LinkedIn and try to match their resumes. So if they don't match, yes, it's definitely a red flag.
Okay,
because
perfect.
sometimes the titles can change, or for example, someone is team member and right there is a manager. If you catch something like that, it's a red flag.
Okay, great. I don't know, do either of you want to add in on that?
I guess 9 out of the 10, the resume wins LinkedIn.
Okay,
and I
interesting.
believe, yeah, that is the trend that we see with most of the recruitment teams. If they see a complete mismatch of information, then yes, that is a red flag. But otherwise, resume is on top of everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to add, because as immigrants, if there are immigrants on the call, sometimes your previous job title in your country may not match up to the one in Canada. So I would say reframe it to the Canadian one. And it's not like you're going to tell likes. Of course, you're going to do that search to ensure that the task you did are in alignment with the task for the rules here. So I highly recommend doing that, especially for your past experience from your country back home.
Okay, and this is, I'm just going to step away for 1 second from the questions. International experience, and this is interesting because I'm asking 3 international professionals. Do you look at international experience? Do you consider it on an application?
Yes, for sure.
I look at it. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I do look at it. I find that that's one of the biggest, as an immigrant, that was one of the biggest challenge when I moved here. Everyone keeps saying you don't have Canadian experience, but you're new here. So of course I have to look at your previous experience.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
that's good.
Yeah.
I think it's
Awesome.
very valuable, and most of them are very transferable skills
Yes,
right now.
very transferable. Most of them, they're very transferable.
Okay, thank you for that. So Hale, you're asking, do the trainings on LinkedIn, is it worth putting the time in? I think we covered that one. I think we agreed that the LinkedIn learnings, they're there, they're free. Do them, get them up on your profile. Faye is asking, how's the IT industry doing? So we're stepping a little bit away from LinkedIn, and Sarah, you're the one to answer this question. How is it doing?
It's not doing very well, but my company is doing well, so I'm lucky. But yes, there are some challenges in IT sector right now.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you for stepping out on that one. So let's just see here. If I put looking to work on my profile and I want to let recruiters and employers see this, how do I avoid letting my current employer or any of my coworkers see this? So we did touch on this one at the top of the session. You can use open to work. There is a setting there that makes it open to recruiters, but Shanika made a very good point that your employer is a recruiter too. So they are going to be looking at LinkedIn from the recruiter side of things. So they might see your profile there. That's a risk that you're going to have to take. You know, or you could be clear, I guess, with your employer and let them know that you're looking for work. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are on that. Do you let the employer know, or do you just risk it and put the open for work and let recruiters see it?
I strongly suggest letting the employer know. I know some persons may disagree with this, but I believe in just being transparent. So I would definitely say I am just weigh my options. Or you could even say you're just seeing if you're still marketable, your marketability. A lot of times, even if I'm not even a job searching for a new job, I still apply for some jobs just to see if I'm still marketable out there, you know? So yeah, I definitely recommend transparency, but if it is that you think this may be at a disadvantage to you, or you may be laid off I would say just maybe don't put it there on your profile, just reach out to recruiters directly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And this actually leads into the next one. So what if the recruiter wants to contact my current employer for references? This is where the transparency, I think, is key, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I personally, as an newcomer, and like, I wouldn't recommend that. No. No.
Okay, unless the employer knows, right? I mean, if you have the employer, they know you're looking for work, or you've already confirmed that you can use them as a reference, it's fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's for sure. Yes. But
And
if they
Bahram, do you want? Oh, sorry.
doesn't know, no.
There are clearly 2 points in there. The one from professional standpoint, they are going to ask your consent on
Yes.
contacting the previous employee, so they're not going to do it on their own. And then based on some of the protocols, like the access to information policies, they also mandate that you give a written consent most often to your HR service center or whoever that governs those information to allow for the sharing of information.
Yes. But I face some situations like HR and recruiters don't do that, but some hiring managers or friends of the hiring managers, they may see your resume and talk to their friends at this company. Oh, do you know someone blah 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 is looking for a job there? He's or she's at your company. Are you aware of that? So these kinds of things may happen. So I strongly recommend to conduct the process very confidentially if you are talking with someone who is not HR, who is not recruiter. Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. Okay, that's great. Now let's just see here. What's the next one? And Faye's asking another good question. So how do you distinguish between LinkedIn job postings for marketing and those that are genuinely hiring? So I think this talks a bit about evergreen postings too, you know, the ones that are just kind of up there to kind of collect resumes. But could you guys touch on what are your advice for making sure it's a real posting?
You can double check, go on the company's website to see if they also have that open role, because if it's on LinkedIn, it's also on the company's website. So you double check, you go onto that company's site and you see if that's a vacancy on their website. Perfect. I'm seeing nods there too. Yeah, that's exactly what I advise my clients as well, because oftentimes, especially, and not to call out Workopolis, but that one for sure is one that I find that most of the job postings on there are no longer valid. But definitely with Indeed and LinkedIn, I'm always cross-referencing onto the company webpage to make sure it's a legitimate posting or that they're looking for it right now. I mean, it might have been a legitimate posting. Maybe it's just floating around there. They didn't take it down. But to make sure that they're actively looking, that's where I go. And let's see here. So Kathy's saying, for a new immigrant here, is it necessary to apply to a much junior level because she doesn't have Canadian experience, or can she apply for a similar position in her home country?
Can definitely apply.
Yeah, you should apply. Don't sell yourself short. Definitely apply for jobs that were similar to your home country, and you go to that interview and you sell yourself.
Yes, exactly. And it depends on the role that you are looking for. Like if it's a technical job, for example, it doesn't matter if you're a newcomer or if you have been living here for 10 years, because your technical skills are more important than your communication skills. So it depends on the role, but I totally agree. Don't sell yourself short.
Awesome. All right. Oh, we've got here, Saeed is coming in. What should I do when actually, I missed your question before. I think, Saeed, you asked that too. I had an interview 35 days ago and they proceeded with my application. However, it's going very slowly. They said that they will update me this week, but I haven't received any update. It's been a week later. What should I do to follow up? What do you guys recommend?
And a follow-up email.
Yes.
Send a follow-up email.
Send a follow-up email.
Awesome. And obviously polite, you want it to be professional. You don't want to be demanding, just like, hi, I just wanted to follow up on my process for the opportunity. I want to, let you know I'm very excited about this posting still. Express your interest and then wait for them to respond. I'm getting nods. Okay, perfect. And then, there. He double asked the question. All right, we've got about 1 minute left before I just want to thank our guests. Anybody want to slide in one last question? The chat is quiet. Anybody from Career Paths? Do you have any questions that we haven't been answered this evening? No. All right. Well, I think this has been an excellent session tonight, you guys. You've been really engaging. I've loved the conversation. I appreciate all of the people who are on this call that got the last minute email that said not everybody was going to get in. I apologize for the confusion, but I really hope that you have enjoyed the discussion tonight, and I hope everybody learned quite a lot. Shanika, Barham, Sarah, thank you so much for being so engaging, for sharing this information. I think you cleared up a lot of misinformation. I think we're going to see a lot of improved LinkedIn profiles, I hope, over the next couple of days here, and that people really start to learn how to leverage this, because it's an excellent tool. For those of you that are new to Vancouver, Vancouver is a tricky city. It is not a very friendly city. People are a little bit distant and it can be really hard to connect. And a great way to connect with people is through LinkedIn, because they do like their social media here. It provides us with enough distance where we don't have to be your best friend, but we can still build a relationship with you. So don't neglect it. This is a really important part of your job search, of building your network and of building your professional community in a new place. Because unfortunately, one of the things of coming to a new place is that you have to start from scratch, in the sense you got to rebuild that professional network, and LinkedIn's the best place to start. You're going to learn about events where you can actually get in front of people and make those personal connections as well, but don't discount it. I don't know if anybody wants to add any last comments, or we'll just end a couple of minutes early and we can go into our Thursday evening.
Thank you very much, Liz, for the opportunity, and thank the audience for their engagement.
Thank you. And I would say get involved with ISS of BC or Mosaic, one of those communities. Don't be an island. You can't do it by yourself as an immigrant here.
Oh, you're amazing, Shanika. I forgot to plug my own organization. Thank you for doing it for me. I'm going to second what she says. We offer excellent services and it's free. And it's amazing how many people don't know about the services we provide. So whether I see someone's in Toronto, these organizations are across Canada. Just Google them because there are so many resources out there and so many people who are dedicated to helping you get into where you want to be here in Canada and helping you get out of those survival jobs and really starting to get comfortable and back into the place where you deserve to be here in Canada. Awesome. With that being said, I will let you all go. Thanks
Okay.
very much,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye.
Bye.